Jake's Cowboy Adventure. It was a scorching day on the prairie as Jake rode his horse, scouring the land for his missing cattle. Out of the 100 cows he owned, some had gone astray. As he surveyed the horizon, a prominent hill caught his eye, prompting him to consider.
Perhaps the cows are over yonder.
With determination, he urged his horse onward, ascending the hill. Upon reaching its peak, a breathtaking sight unfolded before him. A valley nestled below, housing his wayward cows. However, a predicament loomed as 3 nefarious cowboys also occupied the valley. Their intentions were clear: they sought to abscond with Jake's precious livestock. Indignant, Jake hollered,
Those cows rightfully belong to me.
Yet, the malevolent cowboys merely scoffed, taunting him with their retort.
Finders keepers, loser weeper.
One shouted. Jake heard. He knew he needed to stop them and retrieve his cows. However, there were 3 menacing cowboys, and he was just one person. What could he possibly do? Jake pondered for a moment and then came up with an idea. He decided to stealthily descend the opposite side of the hill, where the cowboys couldn't spot him. From there, he would approach them from behind and catch them off guard. Jake rode down the hill silently, while the cowboys remained preoccupied with the cows, oblivious to his presence. As he neared, Jake let out a thunderous
Yeah!
The sudden noise startled the cowboys, causing them to jump in fright. While they were surprised, Jake rushed at the bad cowboys on his horse, shouting,
Leave those cows alone.
The bad cowboys realized they were outnumbered, with just 1 cowboy against 3 of them. However, Jake appeared extremely brave. One of the bad cowboys reluctantly said,
All right, you can have the cows, but we'll be back someday.
With that, they rode away. Jake had successfully saved his cows. He gathered all 100 of them and began riding them back home. However, darkness was falling, and Jake knew they couldn't travel at night. He needed a place to rest. Just then, he spotted a distant light. It was a lonely ranch house when Jake rode up and knocked on the door. An old cowboy answered, and Jake asked,
May I stay here tonight with my cows?
The old cowboy kindly agreed and allowed Jake and his cows to stay in the barn.
Thank you for your kindness, stranger,
Jake said, introducing himself as Jake.
Nice to meet you. I'm Sam,
replied the old cowboy. The next morning, Jake assisted Sam with ranch chores while Sam shared his story.
I used to have a large ranch here with 100 cows.
Said Sam sadly.
But then some unscrupulous cowboys came and stole all of my cows. Since then, I've been all alone.
Jake empathized with Sam, as he had experienced the heartbreak of having his cows stolen as well.
Those must have been the same cowboys who attempted to steal my cows,
exclaimed Jake. Sam nodded, suspecting that it was indeed the same gang of thieves.
I have an idea,
suggested Jake.
You can assist me in getting my cows to the market for sale. Then, with the money we earn, we can use it to purchase new cows and help you restart your ranch.
Sam smiled, his happiness evident as he thought about owning a ranch once again.
I'm truly grateful for your assistance, Jake.
He expressed his gratitude. The following day, Jake and Sam embarked on a journey with 100 cows, intending to sell them at the market. It was a lengthy and arduous drive, as they worked tirelessly to keep the cows moving in the right direction despite the scorching heat. After a few days, they finally reached the cattle town. Jake was content with the prices he received for his cows. With the money earned, he and Sam purchased 100 new cows. During their journey back, Sam entertained Jake with stories from his days managing the ranch. Jake found great pleasure in Sam's company, cherishing their time together. As they approached Sam's old ranch, Jake noticed 3 familiar figures in the distance.
Look, it's those bad cowboys,
Jake exclaimed. Sam also spotted them and knew trouble was imminent. What would these cowboys do now that they were so close to the new herd?
We need to hide the cows quickly,
Jake urged. Together, he and Sam guided the herd behind a hill, out of sight from the troublemakers. Then, Jake had an idea.
Sam, you sneak up behind them while I distract them from the front.
Sam nodded and silently slipped away. Meanwhile, Jake rode towards the cowboys.
Well, look who it is, my old pals.
He called out with forced cheer.
What do you want?
The lead cowboy scowled and growled.
We're taking those cows you just bought.
Just then, Sam jumped out from behind them, waving his lasso.
I don't think so, varmints.
he yelled in his gruffest voice. Startled, the cowboys turned to see it was just one old man against 3 of them.
Get him, boys!
Shouted the leader. The other 2 cowboys spurred their horses toward Sam, but Jake was ready. He swiftly pulled out his lasso and ensnared one cowboy by his legs, yanking him off his horse. Sam's lasso also found its target, successfully dismounting the other cowboy. However, the leading cowboy was quick on the draw. He aimed his gun at Sam and growled,
Drop the rope, old timer!
But before he could shoot, Jake skillfully lassoed his gun arm from behind.
I don't think so, you scoundrel.
Jake retorted, echoing Sam's sentiment. Now that all 3 cowboys were disarmed and on foot, Jake and Sam had the upper hand.
You fellas better ride out of here and never return.
Sam warned them sternly. The cowboys realized they had been defeated.
You haven't seen the last of us.
The leader shouted before they rode off. Jake and Sam celebrated by high-fiving each other, relieved to have successfully dealt with the threat once again. With the cowboys gone, they returned the herd to Sam's ranch. In the following months, Jake assisted Sam in restoring and operating the ranch. They constructed new fences, a barn, and a windmill together. Soon, the green pastures were once again populated with cows. Jake had to admit that he was beginning to enjoy the ranch life. Perhaps one day, he would have a place of his own. A few more months passed, and Sam's ranch thrived with a new herd of cattle. Jake had become like a son to Sam and was happy to call the ranch his home. One morning, while riding the range, Jake spotted a wagon in the distance with a broken wheel. As he rode closer, Jake saw a woman attempting to fix it alone.
Need help, ma'am?
Called Jake as he approached. The woman looked up, visibly relieved.
Yes, please. We've been stuck here all night.
She replied. Jake dismounted and inspected the wagon.
The wagon wheel is badly damaged.
Jake said,
I'm afraid I'll have to replace it. My name is Jake, and I live at the ranch over there. Why don't you and your family come back with me? I'm sure Sam won't mind some company for supper.
The woman introduced herself as Molly, who was traveling with her injured father. Jake swiftly crafted a new wheel and attached it to the wagon. He then assisted Molly in loading her father and their belongings back onto the wagon. As Jake and Molly rode back to the ranch, they chatted and got to know each other better. Jake couldn't help but notice Molly's kind eyes and warm smile. Upon arriving, Sam was pleased to have guests and they all enjoyed a hearty meal together. Molly shared with them that her father wanted to settle out west and start a ranch. Sam kindly offered them a place to stay until Molly's father recovered. Gratefully, Molly and her father accepted the offer. In the following weeks, Jake found himself spending more and more time with Molly. He was captivated by her charm and spirit, and soon found himself falling for her. One evening, Jake gathered his courage to ask Molly something important.
Molly, I was wondering.
He began nervously.
Would you do me the honor of becoming my wife?
Molly smiled sweetly and replied,
Oh, Jake, I thought you'd never ask. Nothing would make me happier.
She embraced him, and they shared a kiss under the stars. Word soon spread around the ranch about the upcoming wedding. Sam couldn't have been prouder of Jake for finding love and starting a family of his own. Together, they began planning the big day. Just a week before the wedding, trouble arrived at the ranch. The gang of outlaw cowboys had returned, seeking revenge. Their leader sneered.
We told you hadn't seen the last of us.
Jake bravely stepped forward, stating,
You're not welcome here. Ride off before there's a fight.
However, the outlaws simply laughed and drew their guns. Sam reached for his rifle, but they were outnumbered. It appeared that the wedding might have to be postponed. Or worse, Molly then whispered her plan to Jake, who grinned in response.
All right, varmints, you asked for it.
Yelled Jake. He and Sam began retreating towards the barn, drawing the outlaws after them. Meanwhile, Molly had opened the gates to the cattle pens. With a mighty
Yeehaw!
She started the stampede right at the outlaws. Caught by surprise, the gang was overrun by angry longhorns. They fled for their lives with the cattle in hot pursuit. Jake whooped with joy, tipping his hat to Molly.
You sure showed them, darling.
With the outlaws seen off once more, peace returned to the ranch. A week later, under a beautiful sunset, Jake and Molly were married in a joyful ceremony. Sam couldn't have been a prouder father figure. At the reception, Jake lifted a toast.
To family and our bright future on the range.